You dudes, Orn here. Welcome to the Fridge Magnet Power Rankings. I keep this brief because I feel like I've said everything that's needed to be said about these teams so far, other than what's happened to them in the week before. But expect a few changes here once again. So we'll start from number 1 through 10. Number 1, I have the Kansas City Chiefs, and I just think they've played consistently well ever since their week 1 loss to the Detroit Lions, and they've beaten every team that they've faced since then. And Travis Kelce is back and he's playing, better than ever. And I think Mahomes is playing well. He had some interception and accuracy issues, I felt like, and they nearly lost to the Jets. But, they're playing really well, and Andy Reid is coaching well, and the defense is actually playing rather lights out too. They've really developed. So, and the teams that were ahead of them have had some losses of late, which I think has propelled Kansas City to go up there. So they're number 1 now. Number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. They just had a very impressive win against one of the top teams, the Miami Dolphins, and they can't be stopped with that tush push. I finally got to watch Jalen Hurts play quite a bit. He's really good at passing. He can run it when he needs to. He's right up there with the likes of Patrick Mahomes as well as Lamar Jackson, who I'll talk about in a minute. And the Eagles, I think definitely would be number 2. So it's like the end of last season all over again in that sense. Number 3, you got the Miami Dolphins, and yes, I know they just lost to the Eagles, but they did pretty well to get up to get the points that they did, even though they just ran into a really good defense. So even though they may or may not have a historically great offense, if they run into a great defense, that appears to be their kryptonite somewhat, but they're still a very dominant offensive team and still likely to win the NFC North there. And then number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. They would have been number 2 if they had not lost to the Minnesota Vikings, who at this point is considered a mid team, in my opinion. But they lost to them on Monday Night Football. Brock Purdy threw a bunch of interceptions. They appear to be without Deebo Samuel still, so among a few other players. And if you want to be the best, you got to beat some of those mid teams. But the Vikings got the job done against them there, and San Francisco has lost 2 straight teams. One against a decent Cleveland Browns team, and then another against this one. So the 49ers are the best team, in my opinion, in the league at the record that they're at, and with the other teams that they're tied with the record that they're at. Which brings me to number 5, the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, it sucks to kind of say as a Detroit Lions fan, but they showed up on all cylinders. They look like a healthy team. They finally passed the ball in the way that they wanted to since they got Lamar Jackson all the weapons. And since the new offensive coordinator has arrived, Lamar Jackson has turned into a different type of quarterback where he's no longer primarily a power rushing quarterback, but he can pass the ball well, and he'll run like when he needs to, but he won't like run to be a power rusher and get tackled. He'll like run out of bounds because like he knows he's been injured and he's trying to preserve himself, kind of turning into a Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes type, but he's definitely proving to be the best type of quarterback he is at his quarterback type. And the defense has once again proven to be lights out. They've been leading the league in sacks, among other things. The likes of Kyle Hamilton and those types. They have proven that they can be Super Bowl contenders if they just stay healthy, and they could be right up there with the likes of the Chiefs and the Dolphins. And watch out for them. Number 6, this is where I put the Detroit Lions. I think they're still going to be a great team, still going to win the NFC North, but they are no longer a top team. They brand themselves as the villains, but the villains got what was coming to them this week, apparently. But after getting blown out by the Baltimore Ravens, I think their coordinators just got out schemed, and they were playing on the road. in a very windy and coldish conditions, which is the opposite of playing in Ford Field, and nothing went right for them. But they do have a lot of players that they depend on who are injured and did not play, haven't been playing recently. So David Montgomery is a good example of that. Like several of their offensive linemen are still battling health issues, and then their interceptions leader, Jerry Jacobs, was a late scratch from the game too. So they have a Monday Night Football coming up against the Raiders. Then after that, a bye week. So hopefully they'll be able to find ways to rest those players, and everybody can come back for after the bye week, and then they'll be back on track. And then number 7, this is where I put the Dallas Cowboys, and they still could be one of the elite teams, but they still have the Arizona Cardinals loss on their record. So the Ravens, they lost to the Steelers, who I think might be considered a good team now, but their blowout loss for the Lions shows I think that they're back. And then meanwhile, the Lions, they have 2 losses, but they lost to 2 good teams that are in the power rankings. But the Cowboys have a loss to the Arizona Cardinals on their record, which is not, for me, preventing them from being like up here. So, but they're still a really good team. I think they could still do some damage in the postseason if they are able to get there. They'll probably be one of the top wildcard teams. And then, number 8 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they are one of the better teams up there. I had trouble trying to decide where these 3 teams should go, but they're still winning. They're still playing all right. I think it just got blown out by the Texans, but as long as they can keep their players healthy, especially their quarterback, then things will be good for them there. Number 9, the Seattle Seahawks. They're still doing their thing, even though they lost to the Rams recently. Still considered a mid team, but when they show up, they show up. They got great coaching, great running game. They can pass it when they need to. Geno Smith can be dual threat when he needs to. And then there's secondary with the likes of rookie Devon Witherspoon has shown they can get interceptions and really mess with wide receivers when they can. And then number 10 was really a hot mess, and I had to try to choose a team. The Browns, even though they won, it was a 38-39ish game against a really mid Colts team, so I didn't feel confident about leaving them anymore. The Bills, they just lost to the Patriots, and I already talked about like why they're out of the top 10 now. So this time I went with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who sort of have a record that's got kind of up there with those guys, and they beat the Ravens, and they're starting to show up. And that adjustment that Mike Tomlin made, where he had that one practice where normally they don't wear shoulder pads, and they decided to wear shoulder pads, is apparently really paying off because they're playing really well. Today and I know their offense still leaves a lot to be desired, but they seem like they showed up a little bit against the Rams. They arguably have one of the best defenses in the league. They have TJ Watt, who could be the defensive player of the year once the season is finished and over. So I think that's where we're at right now. To recap, number 1 is the Chiefs, number 2 is the Eagles, number 3 is the Dolphins, number 4 is the 49ers, number 5 is the Ravens, number 6 is the Lions, number 7 is the Cowboys, number 8 is the Jaguars, number 9 is the Seahawks, and number 10 is the Steelers. So do you agree? Do you disagree? Feel free to let me know in the comments. And then until next time, go Lions, one pride.